Sources close to the family of rapper Yo Gotti confirm the man killed outside a Hickory Hill event center is Gotti's brother.
Revenge was already in motion after Big Jook lost his life, and the streets were watching every move. Yo Gotti, the well-known Memphis rapper, suddenly found himself pulled deeper into the fallout surrounding his brother's death. What started as street tension quickly turned into something much bigger, and now the federal spotlight is shining bright. Word around the city is that investigators have been quietly collecting evidence, building a case that could keep serious players tied up in court for years if the claims hold up. But to understand why this situation exploded the way it did, you have to understand the role Big Jook played behind the scenes. Anthony Mims wasn't the flashy one chasing headlines or chart positions. His influence worked differently, moving quietly but carrying serious weight inside the Memphis music scene. As the older brother of Mario Mims, known worldwide as Yo Gotti, Big Jook helped shape the rise of collective music group. CMG became a powerhouse label, launching major artists like Moneybagg Yo, Glorilla, and ESTG. Even though his official title was never clearly labeled, people around the industry knew exactly what he did. Big Jook stayed behind the curtain, helping guide artists, manage projects, and push CMG's movement forward. His social media stayed packed with label promotion, showing he was always active, always involved, and always close to the center of CMG's business. Anthony Mims, known as Big Jook, was 47 years old when his life was suddenly cut short. But the story surrounding that moment makes more sense when people look at the years that came before it. His name was often connected to the power structure behind CMG, one of Memphis's biggest music movements, and that influence carried serious weight in the city's rap scene. To understand the tension, many point back to a long-running rivalry involving Young Dolph.
So it's probably possible it's in retaliation to Young Dolph?
Back in 2014, Dolph, whose real name was Adolph Thornton Jr., revealed that he had turned down an offer to join CMG. Instead of signing, he chose to keep building his own label, Paper Route Empire, which he reportedly funded with millions of his own money. Dolph later described a private meeting where Yo Gotti cleared the room to talk one-on-one. According to Dolph, Gotti said some tough things about his own artists, mentioning Zilla and others while pitching CMG. Dolph reportedly saw that moment as a serious red flag, and the tension between both camps only grew louder from there. For young Dolph, that meeting was a loud warning sign, the kind that tells you exactly who you are dealing with. After hearing the pitch and seeing how the conversation played out, Dolph made his choice clear. He said no and stayed fully committed to building Paper Route Empire on his own terms. But the story didn't end there. According to Dolph, messages kept coming for nearly 2 years, trying to convince him to reconsider and join CMG. Memphis is a tight city where business, reputation, and pride all mix together, and turning down the wrong offer can create tension that stretches far beyond music. By 2016, the quiet disagreement turned very public.
There was a very vicious diss song where Dolph was dissing Gotti's brother, Big Jook, who obviously has become a big part of this. Dolph dropped that very, very vicious diss track, absolutely tore Big Jook and Yo Gotti apart. He had the body double in the video.
Dolph dropped his debut album, King of Memphis, on the exact same day Yo Gotti released The Art of Hustle. Many fans saw the title as a bold challenge to who really ran the city. That same period brought even more drama. CMG artist Black Youngsta reportedly appeared in Dolph's South Memphis neighborhood with a group looking for him. Soon, the diss song started flying, social media heated up, and in early 2017, Dolph released Play With Yo B, a harsh diss aimed straight at Gotti, complete with a lookalike in the video that had the rap world talking loudly. The diss track didn't just take aim at Yo Gotti, it also mentioned Big Jook by name. That detail made the situation even more intense. Journalist Trap Lore Ross, known for carefully documenting the timeline of this rivalry, described the song as more than just music. He said it felt like a direct public humiliation aimed straight at the core of CMG's inner circle. For someone like Big Jook, who usually stayed behind the scenes while holding serious influence in Memphis, being called out in a viral rap video was no small thing. People close to the scene say moments like that carry weight in a city where reputation means everything. Then things took a frightening turn. In February 2017, just weeks after the diss song dropped, Young Dolph's bulletproof SUV was hit with more than 100 rounds in Charlotte, North Carolina during CIAA weekend. Authorities later charged Black Youngsta and 2 others with discharging a weapon into occupied property, though those charges were eventually dropped. Dolph survived the shooting thanks to his armored vehicle and still performed that same night, Later, he even turned the experience into an album titled Bulletproof.
Yo Gotti was texting my phone for 2 years straight. What you doing, bro? What you working on, bro? Let's do this.
But the danger didn't stop there. Months later, in September 2017, Dolph was shot again outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles, sending shockwaves through the rap world. At one point, both Yo Gotti's entourage and young Dolph were reportedly staying at the same Los Angeles hotel when another violent moment unfolded. Police quickly stepped in and began investigating the situation. The LAPD later cleared Yo Gotti as a person of interest, while an associate named Corey McClendon was briefly arrested on suspicion of attempted murder before being released without charges. Throughout these incidents, Big Jook stayed mostly in the background. His name rarely appeared directly in reports, and he was never formally charged in connection to those cases. People close to the Memphis music scene often described him as someone who preferred to work quietly behind the scenes rather than in public view. Years later, court discussions and online speculation added even more controversy to the story. Some reports claimed there were serious threats circulating against members of the Paper Route Empire Circle, including artists like Key Glock and others tied to the label. Not long before his death, Big Jook posted a message on Instagram in January 2024 that caught people's attention. The caption warned followers to stay alert and watch their backs at all times, words that many fans later looked back on with a sense of chilling irony. In a twist that shocked many people, Big Jook shared a message online just one day before he was fatally shot in a parking lot outside a funeral, with family members nearby. The post warned followers to stay alert and watch their backs, words that later took on a chilling meaning after the tragedy unfolded. While his name had been surrounded by years of controversy and rumors tied to the Memphis rap scene, Big Jook never faced those issues inside a courtroom. Before any legal process could move forward, his life ended suddenly, leaving many questions still hanging in the air. The story of this conflict also connects back to a heartbreaking moment years earlier.
Never forget, yep. Where were you at? I was at home. Laying down.
On November 17th, 2021, young Dolph was in South Memphis continuing a tradition he cared deeply about, hosting Thanksgiving turkey giveaways for families in the community. During that visit, Dolph stopped at Makita's Homemade Butter Cookies, a local spot he supported often. Surveillance cameras later captured the shocking moment when a stolen vehicle pulled up and two armed men stepped out. Dolph was shot multiple times and tragically lost his life there, in the same neighborhood he had always tried to uplift. The news spread quickly through Memphis. Key Glock, Dolph's close collaborator and cousin, reportedly received the call while at home, and before the words were even spoken, he could already hear in the caller's voice that something was terribly wrong. There's a certain tone people recognize instantly, that uneasy sound when someone calls your name and you already know something terrible has happened. It's the moment when the world has shifted, but the words explaining it are only just arriving. For Key Glock, that moment came with the devastating news about young Dolph. Weeks later, when someone asked how he was holding up, his answer was short and heavy. He simply said, "Content. Not better, not worse, just existing and carrying the weight of everything that had happened." While friends and family were still processing the loss, the legal system was already moving forward. Investigators were building a case that would slowly bring more details about the tragedy into public view.
Yeah.
And did somebody call you or?
Somebody called me in the house. Like, you know how you can hear when somebody call your name, like the tone of their voice, like you know something wrong, you just don't know what it is.
In January 2022, authorities arrested Justin Johnson, a rapper known as Straight Drop, along with Cornelius Smith, accusing them of being the two shooters. Another man, Hernandez Govan, was charged as the alleged organizer, while Johnson's half-brother, Jamarcus Johnson, was accused of helping afterward. 4 suspects were now tied to the case, but one major question still echoed through Memphis for years. Who truly ordered the hit? For years, people in Memphis whispered the same question. Who really ordered the hit on young Dolph? Many believed the answer was known in the streets, but it had never been fully spoken in court. That moment finally arrived in September 2024, when the trial of Justin Johnson began. Before proceedings moved forward, Cornelius Smith made a major decision. He pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and agreed to testify for prosecutors. When he took the stand, he described meetings, conversations, and the movements that led up to the deadly attack. During his testimony, Smith claimed that Big Jook was the person who placed a $100,000 bounty on young Dolph. According to Smith, Hernandez Govan acted as the middleman, bringing both shooters into the plan and relaying instructions. Prosecutors explained that the alleged payment would be split between those involved, with money promised to the shooters and a portion to the organizer. Court discussions also suggested that one suspect believed the crime might open doors in the music industry. Smith told the jury they tracked Dolph during the Thanksgiving giveaway period, eventually spotting his vehicle near Makita's Cookies before the attack unfolded. During the trial, Cornelia Smith gave chilling testimony about the moments leading up to the attack. He told the court that he was the first to fire using a semi-automatic rifle, while Justin Johnson allegedly used a handgun. Smith also identified himself in the surveillance footage shown to the jury and described how they escaped in a stolen Mercedes before later changing clothes at an apartment complex. Investigators said the vehicle was later abandoned and attempts were made to destroy evidence connected to the crime. But one moment during cross-examination shocked the courtroom. Smith admitted the shooting happened on his daughter's birthday. He acknowledged that he took part in the crime because he believed a large payment was coming. According to Smith, he expected the day to become a major financial turning point for his family. After the shooting, Smith said he repeatedly tried to collect the money he believed he was promised. Messages were sent through intermediaries connected to Johnson. Instead of a huge payout, Smith testified that he first received only $500 delivered inside a letter, a moment that stunned many people following the case.
How you holding up?
I'm content.
In court, another detail stunned many people following the trial. According to testimony, the money Smith claimed he received after the killing added up to only $800. The contrast shocked observers because young Dolph had built a massive independent career, reportedly turning down multi-million-dollar record deals because he believed in his own value. But the financial questions did not stop there. During cross-examination, defense attorney Luke Evans pushed Smith about legal payments connected to the case. Smith acknowledged that around $50,000 in legal fees had been paid on his behalf by someone linked to the CMG side after his arrest. Smith said the money did not pass directly through his hands and instead went straight to his lawyer. He also stated that he could not identify exactly who arranged the payment. Evans suggested the possibility that the money could have been compensation connected to the crime. Smith pushed back, telling the court he decided to testify because he wanted the truth out. He admitted he expected to spend years in prison regardless and claimed his conscience eventually forced him to speak. During the trial, Justin Johnson's defense team strongly denied that he played a role in planning the murder. His attorney, Luke Evans, argued that much of the evidence presented by prosecutors relied heavily on clothing descriptions and surveillance footage that he said was largely circumstantial. Despite that argument, the jury reached a decision quickly. After less than 4 hours of deliberation, they rejected the defense's claims and delivered their verdict. Outside the courtroom, the case was already stirring loud reactions across the hip-hop world. Music manager Wack 100 even went on social media with a warning directed at Yo Gotti, suggesting that prosecutors could eventually examine whether larger criminal charges might be possible based on the timeline of violent incidents connected to the feud. No federal case like that has been announced publicly. Still, the conversation around the testimony shifted how many fans looked at the entire situation. Yo Gotti has not made any public statement addressing the allegations discussed during the trial, and CMG has also remained silent when media outlets requested comment. Meanwhile, the man repeatedly mentioned during testimony, Big Jook, had already been killed months before the trial even started. On January 13, 2024, he was attending a gathering following a funeral at a restaurant and event center on Winchester Road when the shocking shooting took place. The gathering that day was meant to honor the life of Eric Bowen, a man described by reports as someone connected to the Mims family. Friends, relatives, and members of the community had come together after the funeral to share food and support one another during the difficult moment. Among those present was Anthony Big Jook Mims, along with members of his family. Reports later suggested that Yo Gotti had also attended earlier, but had already left before the situation unfolded. Around 4:15 in the afternoon, gunfire suddenly erupted in the parking lot outside the venue. A Memphis police officer who happened to be nearby heard the shots and rushed to the scene within moments. When authorities arrived, they discovered 2 victims suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. One of them was Big Jook, who was rushed to the hospital but later pronounced dead. The second victim survived after being airlifted to Regional 1 Health in critical condition. Investigators soon released images of a white Ford Explorer with dark tinted windows, believed to be the suspect vehicle seen speeding away right after the shooting. Within hours, shocking footage from the scene began circulating across social media, spreading rapidly just like the surveillance clips that followed the killing of young Dolph. Journalist Trap Laura Ross, who had documented the long-running conflict for years, later pointed out the grim symmetry between the two tragedies. The grim irony of the situation did not go unnoticed. Young Dolph had been killed in broad daylight, captured on surveillance cameras at a place he regularly visited in his own neighborhood. Years later, Big Jook was also shot in broad daylight, with cameras nearby, in the parking lot of a gathering where family and friends had come together to mourn someone else. The similarities between the two moments quickly became a major talking point. In both cases, the violence unfolded suddenly, and surveillance cameras ended up documenting the chaos that followed. People who personally knew Big Jook began sharing their reactions as the news spread across Memphis. One of those voices was Boozy Badaz, who said he had actually spoken with Big Jook just days before the shooting. According to Boozy, the two had been discussing music and possible collaborations. What seemed like a normal conversation about future work suddenly turned into something far heavier when the tragic news arrived. When Boozy learned what had happened, he immediately began calling people connected to CMG, trying to understand how such a shocking situation could unfold so suddenly. After the shooting, fear spread quickly among people connected to the situation. Some artists and associates began receiving warnings from friends who were worried about their safety. One message shared privately was simple but serious: leave Memphis for a while and stay away from the tension surrounding the conflict. As of the latest public reports, the killing of Big Jook remains unsolved. Memphis police have said the investigation is still ongoing, and no suspects have been officially named. Authorities have also never publicly confirmed any connection between his death and the earlier case involving young Dolph. Still, the atmosphere around the city showed just how tense things had become. When Big Jook's funeral took place, security around the service was extremely heavy. Reports described police presence, helicopters in the air, and tight monitoring around the funeral home to prevent any further violence. Months later, the legal process surrounding young Dolph's death reached a major moment. On September 26, 2024, inside Shelby County Criminal Court in Memphis, Justin Johnson, also known as Straight Drop, waited as the jury delivered its decision. After only a few hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder and conspiracy. After the guilty verdict, the courtroom moved quickly into sentencing. Judge Jennifer Mitchell ruled that Justin Johnson would receive life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of young Dolph. The decision meant the man convicted of carrying out the deadly shooting at Makita's Cookies would never walk free again. But the punishment did not stop there. On November 1st, 2024, Judge Mitchell added more time to the sentence. Johnson received 35 additional years for conspiracy to commit murder and 15 more years for being a felon in possession of a firearm. Those penalties stacked on top of the life sentence, leaving him effectively facing life plus 50 years behind bars. Johnson's legal team attempted to challenge the outcome. His attorney filed a motion requesting a new trial, arguing that issues with testimony and evidence affected the case. However, the judge denied that request in early 2025. Meanwhile, another person connected to the case, Jamarcus Johnson, Justin's half-brother, also faced consequences. He admitted to helping after the crime by handling communication and assisting with cover stories. In November 2024, he pleaded guilty to accessory charges and received a 6-year diversion program instead of a longer prison sentence. As part of his agreement with the court, Jamarcus Johnson was placed into a strict diversion program instead of prison. The conditions included community service, random drug testing, no firearm possession, parenting classes, and career development courses designed to help rebuild his future. If he completes the program without any violations, the charges against him could eventually be dismissed and removed from his record. It became a rare second chance connected to a case that brought devastating consequences for many others involved. Meanwhile, Cornelius Smith, the man who admitted to being one of the shooters and later testified in court, still faces his own legal outcome. Reports have indicated that his final sentencing ordeal depends heavily on how prosecutors evaluate the cooperation he already provided during the trial. Another key figure in the case is Hernandez Govan, the man prosecutors described as the alleged organizer who connected the plan together. Authorities claim he helped recruit the shooters and coordinate the attack. Govan has repeatedly rejected plea deals and continues to plead not guilty. He has remained free on bond while waiting for trial, but if convicted, he could face life in prison. One of the most unusual twists in the case came when the judge ordered all pretrial motions, state responses, and court rulings connected to Hernandez-Govan's case to be sealed. That decision means the public cannot view those documents at all. Officials have not explained exactly why the records were sealed. Legal experts say it could involve protected witnesses, sensitive investigative details, or information that might affect other ongoing cases. Whatever is inside those files has been considered too sensitive to release publicly. Throughout all of these developments, the courtroom testimony, the allegations discussed during trial, and the speculation surrounding the case, Yo Gotti has not made any public statement addressing the situation. CMG, as a label, has also stayed silent whenever reporters requested comment. As of now, there have been no criminal charges filed against Yo Gotti, and no federal case related to the situation has been announced. That remains the official record today. What the sealed documents in Govan's case might eventually reveal is still unknown. Meanwhile, the man whose name surfaced repeatedly during testimony, Big Jook, died before he could ever respond to those accusations in court. The man prosecutors said carried out the shooting is now serving life plus 50 years in a Tennessee state prison, a future that, according to testimony, was once supposedly tied to dreams of a music career and opportunities that never came. Another man accused of helping organize the plan is still waiting for his day in court, while key evidence connected to that case remains sealed from the public. What those documents contain is still unknown, and the next chapter of the legal battle has yet to fully unfold. At the same time, the killing of Big Jook remains unsolved. The white Ford Explorer believed to be connected to the shooting vanished into the streets of Memphis, and investigators have not publicly identified any suspects. Despite everything that has happened, life and music continue moving forward. Key Glock, who stayed strong through the chaos surrounding his cousin Young Dolph's death, kept working and honoring that legacy through his music. If you want more deep stories like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with others, and drop your thoughts in the comments below.